Hi everyone, my name is Sushanchi and I'm a certified Salesforce admin, and today I want to show you about a flow that I created which can be triggered from the list view to make changes to selected records. So the use case here is it's a meal serving non-profit organization where they schedule their meals ahead of time, 2 months ahead of time, with the start date, service start date, and service end date for each client. And throughout the service time, it is mostly same for them. It's when they started, it's the same start date and same end date, but some clients may end the service in between, or things like that can happen. So the end date may change over the course of time. So when the service is completed, some of the client will be carried over to the next service period, and the end date need to be changed to the new service end date, where the others who are not continuing, their record type need to be changed. And this has to be done to the multiple records, and most of the time there might be 50 clients who are being carried over, where they have to change 50 clients end date. So in order to make this process easy, I thought of doing that for the selected clients from the list view. So there are certain steps that is involved, and I will take you through the first and the second step right now. It is related to the flow. So first we will have to create an IDs variable in the flow, which will collect all the chosen record IDs from the list, whichever the user is selecting. The second is the flow itself. So let's go ahead and see it in flow. So this is the flow that I have created. So let's the first step, that is the creating the IDs element. So for creating an IDs element, you have to take the new resources, and from the new resources, take the variable, write the API name as IDs. It's important to write the API name as IDs, and the data type as text, and it should accept multiple values, and also it should be available for input. The reason why it is available for input is because we are collecting the information from the outside of flow. It's from the list. So you are collecting outside of the flow. So that's why you require available for input. If it was inside the flow, you don't need this. But as it is outside of the flow, you need to enable this. So this is the variable that I already created, and it's here, which collects all the record IDs. And here I have the screen element where I ask the user whether they want to make changes to the service date or is it to the record type. If they choose the service date, this field will be visible to them. If they don't choose the record type, then this field will be visible. Here they can choose the new service end date and it will be updated, and here they can choose the record type. And here I haven't hard-coded the record type. Instead, I am getting those values. So I'll show you how that's done. To get that, when you do that here, when you are doing a pick list, you have to give the values, the choice values, right? So here, if nothing is there, you can go ahead and create a new choice resource. So in the new choice resource, choose the record choice set. And record choice set means you are getting the information from a record. So that's what it means. So here I will write any API name, and you will choose what is the details that you want. You want the record type. So record types are stored in the record type object. So I'll choose that here. And what's the condition? You will need to make sure the record types are of the object contact. So the object names are stored in the variable in the field, in the name. The API name is S object type. So that's the name of the object. So that should be equal to contact. And when you come here, now it shows asking for choice label. So choice label is the name that will be displayed in the pick list value. So you what the user will see. So what do you want the user to see? The name of the record type. So that's the name, and you will choose text here and choice value. So what value want to be taken from here? So they are seeing the name, but you want the ID to be chosen so that you can update it here. So that's why you are choosing the ID here. So that's hit here. So I can show you the record choice set here. It's the same thing as I said, record type, and you can see ID, name, and all the details here. So that's how it's done. So the next element I have here is the get record. You have all the variables, all the record ID in a collection variable, but now you need to get the records to do the changes. So I am getting all the contact records where there is a condition here where the record ID is in the collection variable. That's the IDs. If the ID is in this ID collection, then it will collect all the records. So that's what it is doing here. And make sure you choose all the records, and I'm storing all the fields here. And when you come here, I am doing a decision element here where I'm checking whether the client has chosen service, changing the service date, or whether it's a changing the record type. So depending on that, it will choose the path, and both are pretty much the same. It's just one side you are changing the service date and the other side it's the record type. So when you come here, I'm using the loop where I am putting all the collected records, that is the get all records in the list. That was this element. So whatever records I collected, I am putting it here in the loop where it will go one by one and complete the loop. So for each one, I want to change the service date. So when it comes here, what I'm doing here is I will choose the current item from the loop, and I will select the service end date and make it the new service date. So right now I'm using the assign element here. It is always the best practice to use assign element in the loop and not use any of the DML statements, just to avoid hitting the Gartner limits. Because if today it might be a 50 documents, but tomorrow the company or the organization may grow and there can be hundreds and 300s of documents at a time they want to change. So in that time, going ahead and changing the flow, instead of that, do it right now itself. So using the assign element, you are assigning it the value, but right now, even though you assigned it, when it goes to the next element, it is not saved anywhere. So it's not anywhere saved. So that's why we are having a collection variable where you are collecting all the records that has been changed. So what you're doing right now is you have a collection record variable where you add each record that you have updated into this one. So it's like a box you are collecting after the update, and then you will completely save them later on. So you add them into it. So how do you create that variable here? You go to new resources, you go into the variable, and the data type should be record, and it should accept multiple values because multiple records are being updated. You choose a API name, whatever you want, and the object is contact. So I have that collection variable here, and that's the changed records. So this is that variable here. So it's same thing, and I use same variable here because it's either of this path, right? So I use the same variable to make the changes here, and I add it into the collection, and now when it comes here, I'm just updating that collection variable. It's all together updating it. And I have a fault path here. If in case they face any error, it will show we were unable to update the requested changes. Please contact the admin for more information. So this is all about the flow. You have to save the flow and activate it. And let's see what are the next steps. So next steps is, the third step is assigning the flow to the button and making sure the button is available on the list view. So let's see how that can be done. So when you go here into the object, okay, let's go into the object manager and go to the contacts. You can see button, links, and action. You have to go in there and create a new button here. And when you go into the new button here, you can choose the label that you want to display, name, everything. You can do that there. You have to choose display in a new window, URL. It's the same thing. And you have to give the flow URL here. Where will you get the flow URL from? I'll show you how to get the flow URL. When you go into the flow, whichever flow that you want to add, you see this is the flow that I want to add. You have to go in here, view details and versions, and you can see this is the URL that you want to save. Okay, so you have to copy this URL and you have to paste it here. Okay, I have done that already, and let me show you that. Okay, so this is what it is, and I will you can ignore the other part. I will show you later on what it is. So this is the part, and you can save it. So we have saved the button now, but is it available in the list view? No, not yet. So in order for that to available in list view, you have to come here in the list view and you have to edit this one, the list view, and you can see right now I have already added it. That's why it's coming in the selected button. But if you are doing it for the first time, it will be here in the available buttons, and you have to choose it here to make it available in the list view. So once that is done and once it is saved, you will see the button in the list view, and you can see how the flow works. So let's see how it works. So right now you can see all the service date for this one is June 29th, and this one is June 30th. So let's change that to another date. So let's go ahead and change it to, maybe just for this use purpose, let's make it May 31st. Okay, so let's change that. You can see that the update has taken place and it never came back to the first page, the initially wherever it started. So let's see whether the change has happened. Yes, the change did happen, right? So the flow is working fine, but it's not going back to the list view. So there is few steps for that. I will when you search for customize a flow URL, you will see the help article by Salesforce. That's this article here. I will link this in the description. And there's a lot of things that you can read here in detail. And this is what we have to do here. See, list view, and going back to the list view, what we have to do. So here you can see you have to, once a flow name is done and the format is return URL is equal to URL. And what is the URL that you have to give here? It's the list view URL. So in that you can see the first three is the object code, then question mark, and FCF equals the list view ID. Where will you get the object code and the list view ID? Let me show you that. So you can get the object code when you select any of the contact, when you go to the contact, you can see this is the first 3-digit. Okay, this first 3-digit is the object code. And how do you get the list view ID? You can get the list view ID from when you select the list. You can see this is the list view ID. And so what we have to do right now is we have to go again into the object manager, into the contact, and we have to make changes to the button link. So this is the one. Let's make changes. And you have to see question mark return URL equals, and you have to put the object ID and the list view ID. Let's save this. That was the last final step I had here to redirect the page to the list view. So let's see how that works right now. Okay, so let's refresh this one. And let's click change contacts. This time let's try with the record type. I didn't choose any contact, sorry. So let's choose these ones, and I want to make them all clients. Okay, so some of them are non-clients and some of them are client. So let's choose and change them to client. You can see the client and non-client is showing here, and I want to make it clients. Next, and it voila, it redirected to the list view, and you can see the update is done. So this is how I solved that, and I did the list view button and with the flow. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop a comment or contact me in LinkedIn. I'll be happy to show you more. Thank you for watching the video. Bye.